This is EdTech, the monthly look at the education space for audiovisual industry by AV Nation. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us this month is Bill O'Donnell, fresh off the speaking trail at CCUMC. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, sir, and coffee may not be the fountain of youth, but is damn near close.
We're going to get your take on the CCUMC and your speaking gig there, so good for you. I heard that dozens of people did not walk out on you. So, also with us is Ernie Bailey from UAMS. How are you, sir?
I'm doing just fine.
Awesome. And last but not least, Mike Tomei Consulting, fabulous CTS, CTSD, and a buddy. So how are you, sir?
Good, thanks, Tim. Doing really well.
All right, so we're going to do a couple things this month. Talk about AVIQ, talk about consumer products in the education space. Not for nothing, Ernie actually said that they've been talking about that. I just came back from CEDIA, which is it's not quite CES, right? It doesn't have all the gizmos and gadgets that CES does, but it is residential focused. So I kind of want to get the guys' takes on that. And our old friend Scott Tyner has sat down with pen and paper and written it in their blog, and I want to get your guys' take on that. But first, here's a story that we covered on AV Week a number of weeks ago, and I think it's apropos for this audience. Here's what we got. You've got the HDMI license, which is the HDMI consortium who manages and does the HDMI licensing for products, and they take care of all the stuff that has to do with HDMI. Honestly, they have a new certification program. And it is for quote-unquote HDMI premium certified cable. I swear to you, the first time I saw this, I straight up thought of Monster Cable. And it's, I'm not kidding, because it looks. I mean, if you're watching the video, you can see it's a nice gold-plated label. If you're not listening, well, just think about a nice gold-plated label. It says premium on the top, has a barcode and everything. You can scan it to make sure that it's authentic. So, Ernie, we'll start with you on this. You guys do a lot of your own installs. You do a lot of purchasing yourself. Is something like this, certified cables, is this important to you guys?
I'm not going to say that's important right now. We're not having any issues with our uncertified HDMI cables that we're buying from various manufacturers. We're happy with what we've got. I'm not going to pay for the label or for the premium tag until I see that it makes a difference in what we're doing. We're building everything on a 4K platform, and everything seems to be working fine for us. So, like I said, if my manufacturers want to certify their cables, that's fine. I'm not going to go looking for it right now. I'm not going to pay extra for it.
So, and I'm not gonna make you tell me who, but let's say that the current ones you use, if they chose to start certifying it, would it be worth it to you? I don't know what the markup would be, 5-10 cents, maybe $1 more per cable. Is that enough to make you say, you know what, guys, cool, awesome, groovy, I'll still buy from you? Or is there a breaking point where, because they've gone down the certified route, there's got to be a monetary breaking point where you say, you know what, that's not important to me, I'll just go down here this road and not certified?
There probably is a point. It would have to be a significant difference for me to do that. But, if they gave me a big price hike for the same cable I've been buying, I would look at others.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't, like I said, now if they could prove to me that it's different, that it's better, or that I'm going to have problems with the ones that I've been buying from them, and then they're going to explain to me why they've been selling them to me.
They just weren't certified yet, right? They the same cables. Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
Bill, same question to you. Does this matter when you start buying cables for the college?
See, now this one I will tell you right off the bat. I'm sure there's at least someone who's not in the immediate audience that's probably saying, yes, there's a reason for a certification, and that might be some fine folks over at Extron, cough, cough, Roy, who is very big about
Well,
quality of
and
cables.
also Mario at AQAV, he would be definitely in the certified camp.
Yeah. Now the thing is, though, is that really you want to show me, it's like, oh, we got certified. Well, okay. And if we're gonna go down the Mario route on this one, that's real easy. It's here you go, guys. Let's get say, and not to pull up old trick stuff here, but pull out the quantum data tester and everything.
Yep.
Plug it in. Plug in the old one. Let's do the 4K test. Let's push it through. Let's see what the thing can actually do. And you know what? I'd really pay attention to it more if we're talking. I think what was it? It's still like what 25 feet. After 25 feet, it gets questionable. You want to say, hey, if you go with the certified 4K cable, certified HDMI, and it goes beyond that distance, then I'll listen. But for them to go and just say, oh, we have a certified label. Well, show me the difference. Show me what your guys' tests are. Show me the checklist that you guys went through. You can tell I was definitely talking with Mario this weekend.
Yes.
But that's the whole point of it is if you want to go and say this stuff is certified, well, tell me what tests you did. Tell me what you did to get to this point. Don't just slap a label on the thing. I mean, otherwise, yes, we are going back to the monster cable thing where it's just, oh, check it out, it's oxygen-free. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Oxygen-free. The best if you're on Facebook and you're not on the what was it, the AV fails or the AV
Nightmares.
AV Nightmares.
AV Install Nightmares.
AV Install Nightmares group, you have to do this because the best one was an HDMI cable on one end and a power plug on the other. That was,
ooh.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a great one. The one problem with that, Bill, though, is this. That takes time, right? That's one of the biggest headaches so far when it comes to the Avenue Alliance and TSN is they've got a certification process. They only have a handful of products that have been certified because it takes so long.
I will totally understand. I mean, if you look at Avenue, I think at this point the only switch that they definitely have certified are things from Extreme Networks. It's not even Juniper or the big 800-pound gorilla in the room known as Cisco. And I totally get that.
Well, and the only amp you've got is a Crown amp. The only speaker you've got, I believe, is Meyer. I could be mistaken on that. They might have another one.
Sure. But the thing that I kind of hammer down though is that quality products and quality and quality installs and everything are neither quick nor are they easy. So if it takes some time, yeah, I get that. It's also one of those things why, to a certain degree, Extron took a while it takes a while sometimes with some of their big stuff to come out because they have very rigorous QA processes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where, yeah, I get it. It's going to take some time, and it's like, well, if it's worth it, then people will wait, and they won't be. They won't get the low-end stuff and figure that's good enough, even though I seem to be dealing with that on a more consistent basis than I want to admit to.
Well, you all do. I mean, here's the thing. The one thing about education is you guys don't have a pot of money anywhere unless you're Harvard or,
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, somebody with a big,
Watto cash.
Annuity, yeah. Mr. Tomei, when it comes to writing these specs and writing these not the certification, but putting these designs in and putting this stuff in a CSI spec, does that make a whole lot of sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's going down a good road to starting there, but I don't think it's not something I'm going to put in right now into a spec, just because it's so new. You load up a spec with stuff like that, and the cost of your project goes way up because now they're forced into the couple manufacturers that have gone down that road to get their cables licensed and certified. But it brings up a good point. I mean, there are a lot of people that are still pretty confused out there about what kind of cabling they're going to need for true 4K signals at 60 frames a second. Companies like Crestron and Extron are doing a good job to educate people about what kind of bandwidth they need through their system, but a lot of people still don't understand it and think that they have cabling in there that's going to support it when they don't. So it's going down a good road, but it's so new that I'm not gonna. It's not something I'm going to put into specs right now.
Can I just interject for 1 sec, Mike?
Yep.
Okay, so not to put in a shameless plug there, Tim, but just to piggyback off what Mike was talking about, is when you talk about quality of cables, about a year and change back or so. Remember, we actually did a cable throwdown test in which we put a couple of manufacturers' cables through the 4K test, and they said, "Oh yeah, our stuff will do it," and it was all factory terminated and everything else. And you saw what happened.
Yeah, it was Infocom 2014. If you want to go to our YouTube channel, I'll put a link on this episode.
Hashtag shameless plug.
It's not shameless. It was actually a cool thing. I wish we could do it every year. The problem is the equipment we got was from Crestron, and it cost like $250,000.
Oh, the Quantum 980. I ain't gonna lie, that thing is awesome. That thing also probably costs at least more than my family's house.
Yeah, I think it was $200,000 to $250,000. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
They have one at the Rockley office, or the Rockley lab. So.
Yeah. But there are a lot of no-name cables out there that are making claims about their bandwidth that you just can't trust these days. So you see it all the time. And it's funny you mentioned that AV install nightmare. Somebody on there just yesterday, I think, brought this subject up in the comment section of one of the posts about claims that cable manufacturers are making, and everybody started talking about what cables they trust and which ones they don't. So that's one of my favorite Facebook groups for sure.
It definitely is. It's a fun one. If you are on Facebook, it would be well worth your time and your the space in your news feed to check them out. So I don't even know who runs that. So whoever runs that would be good to get on. So all right, next up from our buddies over at AV Magazine, AVinteractive.com. Mid-Atlantic's launching a furniture hub for collaborative spaces. Full disclosure, Mid-Atlantic is actually one of our fine underwriters, so thank you. But one of the things is if you ever get a chance to go to Mid-Atlantic's warehouse in their factory, up on the second floor they've got this space where they have all this furniture, and yes, they make more than racks. I think about this time last year we started talking about their table that has the rack spaces built into the legs, which is still freaking cool. But this is furniture built exclusively for collaboration spaces. Easy for me to say this morning. Showing here on the video, if you're watching the video portion, it's a table. It's sort of rounded at the end. It's blunted at one end where you can put a display of some sort, places to put equipment and things of that nature. Bill, are we to a place where equipment and products like this make sense, where a manufacturer should start going and saying, you know what, let's just go out on this hub space, these hub rooms, these huddle rooms. I hate using huddle rooms, but these
huddle spaces,
because honestly, not only in education but also in corporate, that's what we're using a lot of times. So going down this road and kind of putting not all their eggs, but a bunch of eggs in this basket.
So this is actually something I've kind of seen, and I'm not gonna lie, we actually have a different version of this. We actually have 3 of them in our our collaborative learning space, in which we have the tables from VFI, which is now AVF. But it's interesting to see Mid-Atlantic getting into this, because you're starting to see all their products kind of all mesh together on this one. You've seen them start to get into doing wall mounts for displays. You suddenly see them doing more of the furniture milling portion. You see them obviously using their tech pedestal to house everything together. And it looks good initially. I'm sure there's a couple of I kind of looked around on it, and it's kind of obvious who their main competitor for this is going to be. It's going to be in the realm of Steelcase, which I've dealt with a number of architects. They all love to do. They're loving. As I say, they love Steelcase, because Steelcase will go and give them a wonderful discount. And if you like Altinex, then you're in luck, because it's as I say, their stuff is all Altinex based, which. Once again, I always say this, there's some really good stuff that each manufacturer does, and there's some really wonky stuff. I am not a fan of their pucks that are in the steel case tables, but architects seem to have a very big they have a very good preference for steel case. So I think this is them trying to get into that foray. The The other thing too is just you know what, they have like a little bit of it's obviously here it is, here it is. Let us know what you think. I think there's probably going to be a number of day 2 items that may end up getting rolled into this stuff. The other interesting thing that I saw just recently was folks are actually starting to put glass countertops on top of collaboration tables, so that you could actually go and folks could write on the table and make their own like little Sharpie notes and everything. It'd be interesting if they could actually work that out with, say, a glass manufacturer and actually make cutouts for it. But that's where you get into, how much pressure do you put on the glass and all sort of kind of stuff, or if you just make a cutout. But I like it. I mean, it's to the point where the furniture makers just go and say, "Oh, here, we can do this," and then all of a sudden, the AV folks on campus would say, "Well, how are we supposed to run all this?" And you've got one of the biggest, as I would put it, the big daddy rabbit of them, going and saying, "Here, we'll get into the furniture business. Why not?" So
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Mike, from your standpoint, does it make it easier to kind of spec things from one manufacturer like this, especially when you start doing several different huddle spaces?
Yeah, definitely. So back one of my last projects at Ithaca College was an active learning classroom that had, I think, 6 or 7 of these types of tables in there. So I did a lot of research on all different manufacturers. And all the office furniture companies make these types of tables, but Middle Atlantic really, and some other AV furniture manufacturers have really tackled the 2 biggest issues with these types of standalone collaboration tables. Where do we hide the equipment underneath it, and how do we manage the cables underneath it? So all the furniture manufacturers that are out there don't really pay attention to that, and you have cables draping down underneath, and you're trying to cram switchers and other equipment up underneath the table with no rack space. So so I really like this table a lot, and this year at Infocom I was on the hunt for new lectern models. So I went to all the furniture manufacturers, and this was the first year I really took a hard look at Middle Atlantic's furniture, their credenzas and their lecterns, and I really like it. It's really solid stuff. They have a lot of different finishes that they can put on there, and then they pay attention to all the little integrator features that everybody wants, built-in rack spaces, actually racks that can be easily removed so you can build it elsewhere, and then just put the sides on your lectern. So I really like Middle Atlantic stuff, and I really want to try this table in an install. So I'm looking forward to it.
Let me understand this. This is the first year you've looked at their credenzas? Are you kidding me?
I've never had a need. Yeah. So,
Well,
I don't have any either. They're freaking awesome.
Yeah.
We're actually
rack with never mind.
No, well,
Yeah.
no. If anything, we're putting in about let me think, about 4 or 5 of them in our new classrooms, and folks are liking them because they can look and they say, "Oh wow, we didn't ask for a teacher's desk or anything." Oh, and they suddenly flip open the doors and they're like, "Wow, this is actually hidden very well." And for us, we're happy because Middle Atlantic happens to be the only folks that realized, "Oh yeah, you need ventilation in your credenza so your equipment doesn't cook."
Exactly.
So
That's what you don't get from everybody else. Yeah.
yeah, so the C5s they hit the nail on the head so well. And the nice part is too, they're not just even though they're owned by Legrand and they're partnered with Wiremold and everything. If you ask them to put in a custom cutout for like say a cable cubby or a Hydroport or something like that, they'll do it. You just tell them one of 3 locations and they put it in. No questions asked. They don't bicker or anything like that. Which for me, as the end client, is a big deal because other folks will go and say, "Well, we could do that. That'll cost extra." No, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But the one thing about that is to make darn sure you know exactly where you want that sucker cut.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Can't
Right.
exactly patch it, and never mind.
Yeah.
Ernie, you guys don't have you've got a couple of these rooms. And correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the ones that I've seen of your rooms are pretty much lecture halls, right? They're
Right. We've got some smaller classrooms, and then we've got an active learning center. I love things like this. The problem that I have is when we have to work with interior designers. We have an in-house interior designer, and they're concerned about, the look across the entire campus, the hospital, the patient areas, the research areas, and the academic spaces. And they want it all to look the same. And when I go to them and talk to them about AV furniture, they said, we can just hide the AV stuff inside the furniture that we're buying.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
yes, we can, and yes, we have to drill holes in the side and we put a small fan to pull the heat out, and we have to kind of force wiring in, cut the backs out so we can bring power in, or what, cabling from the ceiling. So, it's the issue I have, once again, is getting the AV designers to look at, getting the interior designers to look at the AV furniture as a piece of furniture and not a rack,
Do you have that conversation, Ernie, where you explain to them, look, there's construction. I'm going to drill holes and cut holes in this sucker.
Well, generally they will let me work with whoever they're buying the furniture from, and they'll cut the holes for us.
Oh, okay.
But still, that adds to the cost of their custom furniture they're bringing in. Yes, it looks real nice and it matches what's on the rest of the campus, but what I'm seeing from Middle Atlantic and then Soundcraft furniture makes very similar stuff to that. They're located just a few miles from us. Their stuff can look just as nice and can match, and they can match finishes, things like that. But the AV designers, I can't really shoot down all the AV designers. My daughter is, interior designers. My daughter is an interior designer.
Wow.
So
what you do is get her a job at UAMS.
I tried.
Yeah.
Or get her to push it to her colleagues.
Yeah.
And when she has talked to me, like, if they're doing a high-end home and they're putting a home theater in it, she'll work with me on that. They do a lot of retail space, and she may ask me questions about how to make the AV work with it. So at least she's thinking about it.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say, I think that if we're looking at this from a long-term perspective, is companies like, say, Mill Atlantic or FSR or AVF and a couple other ones, they are going to have to start bringing in more more interior designers. But the other thing that I've kind of noticed that tends to make the architects a little bit more pliable, or just they'll listen a little bit more, is two things. One is just offering a variety of either veneers or high pressure laminates, or if they're able to even do color matching with some of their other samples, which I think FSR is working on it. I know Middle Atlantic does. It's giving them the variety, because if you tell an architect, oh, well, this is, you can choose this shade of gray, they're all going to look and go, no, I'm going to go back to Steelcase. But the other thing too is just like I said, it's just kind of bridging it between the architect and the consultant. Oh, the other thing was this too, and then just me kind of noticing their hub setup and everything. The pedestal, I get it. It's it's meant to look kind of angular, but a lot of architects tend to like having kind of more rounded shapes. So maybe in the future, if Mill Atlantic could get some panels I could pop on that kind of make it seem like more like a rounded pedestal, that might work a little bit more in their favor. That's just me.
Just some pre-design advice. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I know I've talked with some folks, and I showed them that, and they said, "Oh, it's very mission style-esque." I was like, "Is that a good thing?" They're like, "If that's your choice." I went, "Okay, that's architect code for no, but all right."
All right. Moving on from commercialintegrator.com. Our buddy Greg McCormick wrote this, and this is where my brain is, at least right now, a couple days after coming off of CEDIA. Consumer AV for commercial projects, rather. And I saw a number of products last week at CEDIA in Dallas. And I want to kind of get your guys' 2 cents on them, and mainly because of two specific areas of products. One is Dolby Atmos, and I'll give you my 2 cents on where I think that is. And the other one is 4K. Yes, it's coming. Yes, it's there are a number of projectors out there, the number of displays out there, And now there are a number of players. Still no physical media, at least in the States. There is physical media available, I know, in Europe, and I'm pretty sure in Japan as well.
Allegedly.
No, not allegedly. You can, I mean, you could buy it. I don't know.
I don't think I'll play here.
It's not as regionalized as it used to be, right? It's not. It's not like 20 years ago when you had to. I don't know.
Oh, PAL and CCAM and.
Well, PAL and CCAM and not only that, but in the first. Yeah, in the early days of DVD, they regionalized that as well. So if you were a I don't know, a manga fan, Mr. Bill, you could.
Say, I'm comics. Don't throw me into that
comics,
lot.
Manga, same difference. If you were a Japanese animation fan, let's put it that way, and you wanted to watch certain titles that were only available in Japan, you had to buy a regionalized DVD player. Again, this was 15, 20 years ago. But probably the power conversion probably wouldn't fit right unless you get a converter for that. But Mike, on this area, and this is my 2 cents on Atmos, right? Dolby Atmos is freaking incredible. If you hear a really good demo of it, it is incredible, right? You're talking multi-channel surround sound. Oh my gosh, you're in the middle of whatever sound they're putting you in. Last night on Monday Night Football, they released the last trailer for Star Wars. If you're watching Star Wars, you're going to be in the middle of whatever fight or whatever scene they put you in this thing. However, I don't see this in education, right?
No.
Unless it's Berkeley, right? Unless it's a sound studio like that. However, there were also a number of 4K players. Dish Network has a 4K Joey. TiVo, you've got Sony, you have Kaleidoscape, you've got a number of different ones that are coming out with 4K content, 4K players, ways to push content to these 4K displays that a lot of people like yourselves are going to start speccing into these systems. Are those types of consumer products going to be viable for education?
Maybe in film schools, or like you mentioned, somebody that really needs video or film production classes. Possibly. I don't at the moment don't have any clients needing any of that, so I'm not speccing it for sure. It's not a home theater situation that I'm working in, so I don't think that any of my clients are really beating down the door right now for 4K content or that kind of surround sound in the classrooms. They definitely want to make sure that the systems that I'm speccing, switching and processing, can eventually handle that content, or can easily be outfitted to handle it. But nobody has really asked for it specifically. So.
All right, Ernie, from your standpoint, commercial or residential or consumer grade products in the classroom.
Yeah, in the classroom, I mean, we have occasionally put in a consumer grade display. We don't like to, and this article mentions that can immediately void the warranty in it when you put it in a commercial setting. We fight against it. I'm in a fight, let's not say a fight, a discussion with a student group that wants to put up some monitors in lecture halls that are used mostly by their classes to display announcements while the instructor is getting their PowerPoint ready to go on the screen. They want separate monitors on the side. We told them that's not really within our plan, and we have other methods to get them the information. So they went and got a grant to have it done.
Wow.
Now I'm explaining to them. I'm going to be meeting with the student in charge of it, who I told no, and then he went back and got the money. And his dean, probably the next few days, we're trying to find a time we can all three meet. And I'm going to explain to him that we have a procedure in place for projects like this review, to make sure that we're doing what is best for the university, not what is best for this group. And the people that are behind it are senior students in their colleges, so they're going to be here till May.
Mm-hmm.
And they're wanting to make a major investment in the classroom space. I mean, I understand their idea, and I think there are better ways to do what they're trying to do, and trying to explain that to them, and they're wanting to do it their way. And, you know, they're looking at using tools that are going to interfere with our wireless network on the campus, and you know that's going to have to be stopped. So they're not going to be able to get the content the way they want to. So dealing with that, and then, you know, on the same line as that with consumer products, I had an instructor, or not an instructor, but a departmental chair want their a wireless microphone system put in their conference room, and he had his business officer contact my install team, and they went and they looked it over, and you know, it was, well, there are several ways we can go with this. What's your budget? And the business officer said, I'll call you back. She sent him an email a few minutes later, said, do whatever you think is best with a $100 cap on it. Okay. And you know, I don't know that I can go to the sporting goods store and get a cheerleader's megaphone for that price. You know, that's
now hang on. There are some wireless mics you can get for that price point.
How about speakers and cable and amplifier that don't exist in the room?
Oh wow, never mind.
We're going from a room with no technology to adding a wireless microphone in a room that's a little bit larger than my office.
Yeah.
Hey, Ernie, how about this? I will ship you the handle that you then can get for the cheerleader megaphone, because that's about the closest they're going to get.
That's kind of what, you know, my installer, lead installer, said, I don't know how to answer their question without sounding extremely rude. Will you talk to them?
What he's saying, Ernie, is that you're a lot more adept at wording things than he is. The term "you can't get there from here" comes to mind.
Yeah, something like that. So I'm trying to phrase my response properly for this departmental chair.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. But you know, I think that fits in the consumer products and the commercial world.
Yes.
You know.
I would agree. A Mr. Microphone. That's what you need. Get yourself a boom box and a Mr. Microphone.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, if I buy a used boom box on eBay, I could probably get it under $100.
Yeah, you'll run through all the 12 D cell batteries in no time. But it's
those are consumers. Those are consumables. That's operating expenses.
All right, fair enough.
Capital expenditure.
Different budget.
Mr. Bill, when it comes to consumer products in the classroom.
See, now that is something I do. As I say, and Ernie knows this one as well as I do. I do get departmental chairs that look and say, "Oh yeah, well I'm just going to hook this up via Bluetooth," and I kind of look at it and I take kind of Ernie's approach with this, and I say, "Well, we can do this. If you want to do it Bluetooth," I said, "Guys, if there's some proprietary stuff, or if there's some things that you'd rather not get out into the open, don't do Bluetooth." Well, what would you offer? I'm like, well, you can do commercial, and it's really meant for more kind of use and abuse. Oh, we don't learn our stuff on all the time. I'm like, I know, but life happens, and people, you know, mean well, and they don't always turn the lights off in the office and everything. So what's to stop them from not turning off the display? And you know, we've been speccing in commercial displays for all our stuff, and I tell everyone, I'm like, it's meant for use and abuse, and you know, if these things get left on for 3 to 5 years, I'm not going to worry about it. And in our case, the other thing I tend to throw out at everyone is your your residential grade displays usually only have like about a 1 year or 90-day warranty kind of thing. Mm-hmm. The commercial grade displays that we get are usually at minimum are 3 years, and then as long as we register them with their Star Student program, they throw on an extra year or 2 years, no additional cost, and by that time we'll be changing out the displays, or the college will have reorganized, and all of a sudden, this is now an office space. This is no longer a conference room. Mm-hmm. So no, it's just one of those things where I look at the stuff and I go, guys, we're in a commercial environment. Use the commercial stuff. Oh, but I can get it cheaper at Best Buy. Well, that's great. That stuff's also meant only to be on like 3 to 4 hours a day. It's not meant for continual usage 7 days a week, which with us having our weekend classes and everything like that does happen. So
we had a situation just a few weeks ago in one of our classrooms. We went in there, one of their displays had gone out. Well, couldn't figure out was, and we got to looking, and it had not been turned off in 6 years.
Oh.
The AV system, when you hit the off button, sent a blanking signal. And there was no code to turn off the TV.
So they use blanking?
Huh? Yeah, just so there was a black signal. We didn't put this one in, okay? The people that did it are long gone.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
But and it was one of the. It was a display that did not have a green light to tell you it's turned on. There were 2 displays in the room. One of them turned off from the control system. The other one apparently never got the code, or cut cable or something, but it never got the signal to turn off. So now we're replacing that display.
Yeah. I can see that, and the problem with that statement though, Ernie, is they're not long gone. The company may be defunct, but they're different little integrators all around Little Rock.
Well, I know the people who did it. They're no longer in our market.
All right, well there you go. That's probably best.
But they moved on.
Gracious, that's the danger sometimes. All right, a couple more stories real quick. I'm gonna let you guys go. This is from our friends over at avnetwork.com. AVIQ, and just not for nothing, Nubay, which is who runs AV Network, owns AVIQ now. They had a story on here, the top 5 things trending on AVIQ. And the user types, which is interesting to me, Mr. Tomei, top on that is AV consultant, systems integrator, universities and college, which is kind of why I'm bringing this up, and K-12 is in there as well. The top products are projectors, marker boards, which surprised the heck out of me. Interactive
Class,
which still surprises the heck out of me. Touch panel controls, and then fiber optics. Mike, I want to start with you on this because you're the top of this list here.
Yeah.
Is stuff like this? Infocom used to own them, and then about a year ago, I guess.
Yeah.
AVIQ was sold to Nubay. Is this helpful? Are databases like this useful to integrators, to guys like Ernie and Bill who were trying to, piece together a system to put together a huddle space, to guys like, consultants who may or may not know everything? Because, you guys can't be experts at everything. I'm sorry. None of us can be.
Hold on here. Do it definitely. Who are you talking about?
Give me a dissertation on So,
yeah.
But is this valuable here?
Yeah. So I'm a fan of AVIQ. About 4 months ago, I had a conference call with one of their employees to kind of give me a little guided tour of the site because I really wanted to learn more about it, and I just never really used it that much. And I got a great kind of WebEx tour of their site, and especially their project cost estimator, which I really like. It's not only I not only use it to kind of calculate equipment cost, which is nice, but they also have labor hour estimates in there for each piece of equipment. So they've gone through and
hang on for a second. Based on zip code?
No.
Like area? Okay, so it's just general labor. Okay.
Exactly right. So that's my next statement, to kind of use this as your starting point. So
gotcha.
They went through the description I got is when it was owned by Infocom, there was a committee that kind of integrators and consultants that got together and estimated labor hours for each piece of equipment. Now there's a big difference between a little 2,000 lumen projector and a 15,000 lumen projector as far as labor hours go to install the thing. So it's a good starting point to start putting together a opinion of probable cost for a job. So I spent a lot of time going through it and kind of picking pieces of information out of the AVIQ site that helped me put together my cost estimates now. I put together my own labor hours, like you said, based on rates in my area and different levels of installs. They kind of lump everything together. If it's a projector, they use the same labor hours. Doesn't really matter how large or small the projector is. So it's a good starting point to put together cost estimates for jobs. So I do use it, and I'm a fan of it. I didn't really use it before, and I'm really glad I kind of sat down for an hour and got a tour from one of their employees.
How did you get that to happen? Did you just call them up, or?
Yeah, so boy, how did I get that to happen? I forget now. I think I saw an article written by one of them talking about AVIQ, so I just emailed them and said, I've used your site a little bit. Can you give me a better description of how a consultant could really use it? And they set up a WebEx call for me, and it was great. I was really glad I did. So I definitely use it, but like I said, it's a good starting point for equipment cost and project labor hours when I'm putting together my opinion of probable cost documents. So, and then a quick comment about the marker boards, because I saw that too, and I thought, funny, are they calling interactive whiteboards marker boards? But then interactive whiteboard appears on there also, so they really are just referring to marker boards. And recently, I was contracted to write an AV assessment and strategic plan for a state school here in central New York. So I did a survey of faculty and staff members and asked them of 12 different pieces of AV equipment that are already installed in classrooms, all the standard stuff, projector, DVD player, VHS, doc cams, all that. What do they use most often? And I included conventional whiteboards and blackboards in there. And whiteboards were the fourth most used item in the classroom out of these 12 different pieces of AV equipment that I asked them about. And blackboards were right behind that. So they're still really popular. I'm kind of surprised that people are going to AVIQ to research them, but they're still really popular. I mean, we get requests for those all the time when we're starting to piece together system designs.
You got to write on something, right? So.
Yeah.
So actually, that brings up an interesting thing. Specifically during CCUMC, we did a walking tour of Duquesne as well as University of Pittsburgh. And one of the things that the Duquesne folks that did that was actually kind of interesting was they reused some of their tables, and they got some custom cut glass tabletops to lay on top, and they had them all in kind of like these neon pop colors and everything. And instead of having all this vertical space for the whiteboards and everything else, their provost actually said, I don't want any vertical space. I want everyone to be writing on the tables and everything. So folks actually go and write on the glass surface, which I did kind of bring up to them. I said, hey guys, what if folks decide to put their elbows up on the table or kind of start shifting around? Aren't you going to have Joseph the Amazing Technicolor sleeves and everything? They said, well, the washroom's right down the hall. I went, okay.
Okay.
But it did look nice. True. The one thing they did tell everyone is that they said, oh, use whatever you want. They said, except Sharpies. And I said, wait a minute, don't Sharpies come off on there? They're like, yeah, but we don't want our facilities folks to life any more difficult than it is. So.
All right, then. Ernie, from your standpoint, does the databases like this make a whole lot of sense for you?
I have used it in the past. I haven't looked at it in a while. After Mike's comments, I will go back and look at it. It got kind of clunky at one point when it was still under Infocom. It was almost like going through a stack of file cabinets trying to find the literature you wanted. So it sounds like it's been cleaned up a bit. So I think we will definitely take a look at it. I do use similar tools. Projector Central is our favorite place when we're looking for projectors or displays to find out what's out there and compare what we have to what's new. But like I said, we will definitely take another look at AVIQ.
All right, very good. Last but not least, our old buddy and pal, Mr. Scott Tyner, has written a piece for Rave Magazine, or for Rave Pubs. It is entitled "Sometimes Appearances Do Matter." Now, what he does is, Scott's gone through, good Lord, I know a good 5 or 6 years with Crestron, and they've used Capture HD, which is what the piece is about, is class capture. And he goes on to compare the Crestron interface with Extron's interface, and talking about the ease of use and the use case between the two. Ernie, we'll start with you on this one. Does he make a point here where the actual interface, when it comes to the web interface really kind of does matter when it comes to adoption for faculty?
I think it does for some tools. I mean, if it's not easy and intuitive for them to use, they're not going to use it. He also makes a point about some of the tools for the support staff. We have the support center here, and we use some of the tools that he talks about as well as others. And if it's not easy to get around in, my staff don't want to use it. And once again, if the instructor can't figure out 2 or 3 clicks, I mean, we use a different lecture capture tool here. What we use is actually not designed as a lecture capture tool, but a live collaboration tool that has recording capabilities. And the biggest complaint I get from the faculty is how many steps they have to go through to get the recording started, and then they're still not sure that they're getting good audio and good video. It's so much that we have set up 6 stations at our help desk. Where I've got 3 guys that work at the help desk. I've got 3 stations there, but along the wall we have put 6 computers with displays that do nothing, and then they log those 6 into 6 different recordings that are taking place each hour. And they make sure that the audio meter is going. There's a picture in the block to show that it's recording. So we have to monitor because it's so hard for the instructors to make sure that it's working when they hit the start button.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, the interface matters is the answer to the question, I guess.
Mike, how do you make sure of that? Is it just your due diligence when you're speccing a product and hoping and crossing your fingers that the manufacturer doesn't change the interface on you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking to Ernie's point, ease of use with lecture capture is huge. That's the biggest design consideration. Everybody loves the idea of lecture capture, but they don't really understand what the instructor is going to have to do, or after the fact, on the back end to process that video, what's going to have to happen. So yeah, having interface for the users is really important. But then also Scott's talking about the interface for kind of configuring the device and installing it. And on the higher ed side of the work I do, I always have to remember that there's going to be AV technicians at almost every school, even if they only have like a low-level AV technician that is going to want to be able to adjust settings or log into the web interface of this equipment and check settings and that sort of thing. So yeah, having a company really pay attention to their web configuration interface is really important. On the commercial side or the corporate side of things, integrators hate the idea of a user being able to access that piece of equipment and change any settings on it. They don't want some admin assistant at a law firm that they're installing equipment in to be able to change things. So it's not as important there. But on the higher ed side of things, where you have support technicians, yeah, it's really important for companies to pay attention to that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Bill, for you, does that ring true?
It does. It's one of these things. For us, whenever we don't have a lecture capture system per se with our stuff, so much as like a professor wants to go and give a lecture, we'll actually have our broadcast folks come by, and they take care of everything because. I mean, our instructors have a hard enough time when we go over some of our instructors and everything. We'll teach them how to set up Blackboard Collaborate shells and everything. And I kid you not, I have one of our math department professors. Once they found out there was a firmware update to the entire system, they said, well, that's an additional 10 clicks per session. If you go by this, I'm doing an extra 10,000 clicks over the semester and blah 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 blah. And I went, wow, all right. So we try to take out a lot. If anything, we try to. It's a bit of a white glove service, but yeah, if the instructor is not comfortable with it, they're just going to leave it by the wayside, which is the same. Which really kind of boils down to, if you really want to get into it, like touch panel design. If it's confusing, folks are just going to say, no, I'm just going to. You know what? I'll just turn on the projector myself and just go straight at it. But if it's intuitive, they look and they go, oh yeah, no, it's the same in every room. Hit this, hit that, go to that. I'm good.
No.
Same thing with lecture capture.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's one of the harder parts of creating an interface is making sure it's intuitive and simple to use. So,
a lot
all
of
right,
schools
guys.
look to. Oh, sorry, I was going to say a lot of schools look to the software-based lecture capture, and which can be a lot cheaper than putting a piece of hardware in every room. But like Bill was saying, there could be a lot of clicks and a lot of you're leaving a lot to chance there. Whereas you put something in like that Extron SMP 351 that Scott talks about in this article, and it has a nice big record button on the front of it, and it's like there's one click. So
yeah, they have bumped up. I think they just recently bumped up the solid state hard drive for that too, because it's become so popular.
Yeah.
The size of it, you mean?
Yeah.
The solid state hard drive, yeah. I think it went from like 80 gigs to like, I want to say at least 200 to 300.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quickly, Bill, kind of give us a rundown. I mentioned the fact that you just got back from CCUMC.
Mm-hmm.
Give us an overview of what CCUMC is and why you were there speaking to thousands of people.
So CCUMC is a mix of, you have your tech managers or your various folks from IT who are trying to understand more about AV and how the two of them play nice together. In addition, you also end up having a mix of IT vendors as well as AV manufacturers. There are folks from Kramer, Crestron, Extron. I'm trying to think who some of the other bigger players. Atlona was there. Harman obviously was there. So was Shore, and if I'm remembering correctly, I believe our friends from Draper were there as well, because cool. Penny managed to mug me for a selfie, so that was fun. Yeah. But the thing is, the other thing is that folks will go and talk about it. This works at my campus. This is a problem I've been having at mine, and everyone kind of collaborates and kind of talks and says, well, we worked it through with this. Maybe you should look at that. And then on top of that, they also have presentations, which in our case, my boss Sandy and I gave a presentation about this year's hot button topic was active learning classrooms. And just about every hour or so, there was at least one presentation, folks talking about, well, this is what we did for our active learning classrooms. This is what we did for ours. And the thing that we focused on was, well, how do you get the faculty involved with it? Because, not to bleed back to the previous subject, but if the faculty don't understand how the room's supposed to function, they're going to look and say, why did you give me this room? I hate this room. I don't want to go into this room. So we focused on a room that actually trained the faculty. Here, this is how you actually use the room. This is what the room is supposed to be set up like, and have at it. Aside from that, we also ended up having there was usually dinners that we would go out to with various folks, and here and there there'd be some little sales pitches, which it's kind of comes with the territory. And on top of that, I actually ended up chatting with Mr. Mario Maltese, who gave a very good presentation. It was literally entitled "How much did your classroom actually cost?" And no, it's true. He actually went and explained it to everyone, and you want it in a simple syrup thing. His whole thing is, here, there's a checklist. Here's the thing to actually hold the integrators accountable, and it's really just to kind of bring more transparency to the entire install. I mean, there's some stuff that can fall on the client side. There's some stuff that can fall on the integrator side. If you suddenly say, "Oh, this room's too quiet," well, Mario would say, well, here's a checklist. Check what the impedance was. Check what the sound pressure level is required. What's the wattage tap that you set the speakers to? And if it all comes up to where it meets the minimums, Mario would then look at the client and go, no, the integrator fulfilled it to what you asked for. And the integrator would then joke and just be like, yes, I'm getting paid. And yes, I directly ripped that from one of his speeches, but it rings true, and that's one of the big things that why I love Mario so much, is that for him, he tries to really push it with folks of just hold the folks accountable, hold them. Hey, and it's one of those things. I'm in my office, so anyway, like I said, so that went down, and then we did some tours. We did some walking tours of the folks at Duquesne University, who, they have a ton of classrooms, and they manage things very well for the size of the campus and the grandiose of the campus that they have to work with. There's also University of Pittsburgh, which, if you've never been, please go. It is a beautiful campus. In fact, they were actually able to integrate AV into what was called their Cathedral of Learning, and I'll just wrap it up with this. It's a beautiful building, and specifically, they have what they call their nationality rooms. And the one that threw me for a loop was they actually had one called the Turkish room, and so there's lots of wonderful wood seating and everything else, and these are actually used for classrooms. But they actually were able to integrate in a full AV system into the room, and not disturb the actual design and look of the room. In fact, the only thing they did that actually disturbed the only part of it was they put a projector on the other side of a stained glass window, and they just cut out a single pane for the lens, and then just shot it through the glass, and there's a drop down screen built into the molding.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's one of those things where I look and I go, this is where you had a serious coordination chat with the architects and the GCs and everything else. And they still maintain it, and it's still functional. I believe most of Pitt's and Duquesne stuff is Extron, and there's a lot of Extron 226 plates, and you know what? If it works, it works. I have more of a preference for Crestron, but it also helps when you have an on-campus programmer that's one step away from master certification. So, so you take that from what you will. That aside, though, CCUMC is really good if you're a technology manager or you're the head of your IT services, and you want to talk with folks because maybe you're just at your wit's end, or you've started going and saying, we're going to install this stuff ourselves. How do we handle this? And it's a really good. It's almost like kind of catching up with family. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I made friends up at SUNY New Paltz, and more than likely, I'm gonna go visit them and go brainstorm with them about things. And they were happy as a pig in mud and everything to suddenly talk about this and suddenly go, oh yeah, we've had that problem too. Oh, we got to work together on these things, and it was nice. Yeah, next year it will be held in November, and I believe it'll be held in San Antonio. So that'll be fun.
Nice. Okay. San Antonio, November. So get your warm on. So
yeah. I'm gonna definitely go Spurs go. Anyway.
Go Spurs. Good Lord. All right, that'll do it. Thank you guys so much for joining us, Mr. Mike Tomei from Tomei Consulting. How can people find you, sir?
Well, they can go to my website, which is tomeiav.com. It's TOMEIAV.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on there pretty often.
All right, very good. Yep. Ernie Bailey from UAMS, thank you, sir.
I'm glad to participate, and you can find me on LinkedIn as well.
All right. And Mr. Bill O'Donnell, thank you.
Thank you much. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can also find me on Twitter at the original OD. I am pretty quick responses with those. So, yeah, that's about it.
All right, very good. My name is Tim Albright. Don't follow me. Go by the website if you would, please. A whole lot of people spend a whole lot of time on there working their butts off to make it look like it does. Still making changes to it, so stay tuned to that. avnation.tv, avnation.tv. You'll find this program and a host of others. You can sign up for our newsletter. We don't spam you or anything, just tell you what's going on with Avnation, really. So you can sign up for that. You can check out the other programs we have. So avnation.tv, avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. This has been AV Week. Or, no, EdTech. This has been EdTech. Good Lord. Yeah, EdTech.